Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Conspiracy Keepers. My name is Backlash LaRue. I've got one of our chairs on screen, Joe Monaco, and unfortunately, due to probably the weather and the junk out here in Colorado, we've got Scooter McGee on the phone. Scooter, Joe, how are you two doing today?
Oh, well, I'm hanging in there. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. I think this is pretty typical. Sometimes shows get interrupted. I'm not sure if it's somebody up at the top that doesn't like what we're talking about, but this seems to happen to us and shows that talk about the things we talk about a lot. So it looks like we have to deal with that again.
Perfect. Joe or Scooter, how are you?
I'm okay. This thing, guys, when we started, the internet worked great during this time. And up until about, 5-6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, because we don't tape every week per se. But as we started talking about sensitive things, it's like, wow, now the internet's not working. And, Greeley aside, never mind. I'm not going to do jokes because it's not funny. We are watching widespread global censorship of anything that speaks against the narrative.
Yeah, we absolutely are. We absolutely are. One thing I wanted to bring up, I think you guys have heard about this. Everybody's heard about this. All this stuff that's going on allegedly in India right now from the C word is spread over there. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start with this. First of all, let's backtrack to what we have going on even in this country. We've got pretty much no cases of the regular flu anymore. We've got other things that are dropping dramatically, like heart disease and cancer, and they are dropping in exactly the same percentage that we have the C word going up. So it's obvious what they're doing. All they're doing is calling the regular flu the C word, and they're putting some other diseases in there as well, or deaths in there as well. So we know that's going on. So for the longest time, India basically had no cases of it compared to the population because they've got a huge population. So these pharmaceuticals like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, they go, you know what? We've made billions and billions of dollars literally from Americans. Okay, so we got to kind of spread this thing all across seas now. Let's see. Let's go through and see who's basically got no C word going on. India. They basically live in sewers over there. They've got bad hygiene. They've got bad everything. They've got disease rampant, but they still have no C word going on. Well, no, we got the drug companies involved now. We got to do something about that. Let's just call these regular deaths in India the C word now. And then just say it's spreading like wildfire and you guys need the V word now.
Well,
so that's what we're hearing on the news now.
I disagree with you on that, Joe. I'm just going to have to. I've got a friend of mine who's a dear friend of mine who, you're right. They don't have, it's amazing how many doctors they have over here, but their healthcare system is pretty bad over there in a lot of the different areas. And she had to leave very quickly out of the country to get back because a good chunk of her family does have it. So, I've got family in New Zealand and Australia, and I've heard, it's not just us that, and I'm sure it's all what you're going to say, the global elite. But it's not just the U.S. that's having the issues.
Well, no, I know that.
The devil's asshole over here.
The advocate.
The devil's asshole over here. I'm sorry.
Let's try advocate, but go ahead.
Well, we could, but advocates are people who are shut-ins who have nothing better to do with their lives but constant nose into somebody else's business so they can feel good about themselves. Those advocates can go screw themselves too. I hate to be the asshole/advocate in this room. And Joe and Backlash, you both know how much I feel for you as human beings and how much I truly love you both as my friends and look upon you as we've joked for years, but brothers from other mothers.
Right.
And the sad reality is we are all going to die.
Yep.
Now, having said that, talking talking about friends who have COVID. Yeah. How many of them have died? When at the end of the day, people die walking across the street. Now, the C complications, whether it's obesity, heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune deficiencies, etc. But it's not an opinion what Joe was saying of how this has morphed, not mutated, into the next narrative they need. Because the past weekend, there's Dr. Fauci saying, we're all going to be wearing masks for another year. It's all going to be seasonal, even though I believe as of today, 5/11/2021, 200 million plus fees have been given out, which is we are right at essentially the 60% point. Oh no, now we're waiting for the kids. We're going to need the 12 and up, not 16 and up. And now they're testing it on babies, toddlers, or babies, infants, and toddlers. This is disgusting. People are going to die, and not from the C word, just from reality. And trying to keep everybody scared, while again, hackers and the Soviets have now compromised our fuel system. Gas now in Colorado as of 5/11 this morning is now over $3 a gallon. It's actually $3.69 for premium, $3.49 for silver, and $3.09 for unleaded. It was under $2 over 100 days ago at the inauguration. Thank you, Joe Biden. No, that's Trump's fault. Okay. Everything's Trump's fault. Now what? You're out of excuses. Your excuses are your own. You are making this up as you go along. You are changing the goalposts. You're changing the fence. And when people point that out, you claim we're conspiracy theorists, we're nuts, we're xenophobics, and we're racists. Okay, fair enough. You're still lying to us.
Well, yeah, but that's, every administration is the same way. Remember, they're all working together. They're all on the same side. They're not enemies. They never have been. They never will
and
be.
Joe, here's how I know that this is all hyped. Because Tim Tebow is back in the news. He signed a 1-year contract to be a tight end. Really? Is that why we're not talking about Bill Gates and the Lolita Express and the divorce? Because it turns out now that the Gates divorce may in fact be just another web of lies unraveling.
Yeah. There's no question
guys,
about that.
Both of you will now admit this. We will all admit that I was not exactly monogamous to the partners that I had in the 80s and 90s. It never occurred to me to get them to sign agreements that would allow me once a year to go and spend it with my ex.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that came up as a really bizarre comment.
You think?
And then what do you think his ties were with Epstein?
Well, you sure as hell weren't philanthropic.
Yeah.
It wasn't to raise money. And again, if what sources, which again, the internet wants to shut down anything outside the narrative, Bill Gates is done. Yeah, and I bring that up because I hate to remind people of people like, Kevin Spacey. How's he doing? How's Michael Richards doing? And I bring that all this cancel culture up because of anniversary syndrome that I'm suffering from April of 2007. How did we go from nappy-headed Ho and Don Imus in 2007 to here? Honestly, Joe, how did we get there in 14 years?
Well,
March Madness 2007, Don Imus said what he said and changed the landscape of terrestrial broadcast morning radio across the AM dial. It's like me were put in play.
Yeah.
And
I know.
We are where we are today.
But let's keep in mind, we were bringing up the topic of Epstein and all the people that he's tied to. And I'm especially hearing this from the right-wing Christians, allegedly. They just say, oh, he's tied to the Clintons, he's tied to this, he's tied to that. He probably is. I don't doubt that. But keep in mind, these people, just like I said, they're all working together. But let's not forget that these right-wingers that claim all this stuff and want to tie the Clintons to him, which they probably are, the person who has the most videos with him, the most pictures with him of all those people is Donald Trump. Let's remember that.
Yeah, thank you. Because that's the other argument. Trump threw him off Mar-a-Lago. Okay.
Well, no, wait a minute. That's the rumor. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah,
There's no evidence of that. That's just what.
I found out either of you ever raised your hands to a child in anything other than a loving and nurturing manner,
right?
You'd be fucking dead.
Hey, watch your language.
I know. I'm sorry. We're talking about pedophiles. Why aren't we bringing back the death penalty on these pieces of scum? You touched a child, you're dead.
Well, you want to know why?
Or better yet, I don't want blood on my hands. Fine. And
you
kick them off your property and call the police.
You want to know why that is? Because
and this coming from the mafia guy, you don't snitch. Well, then guess what? You're one of the players. You knew and you were uncomfortable and you didn't want him there, so you threw him off your property. But you didn't want a scandal because you didn't want to answer any questions. Well, that means you're complicit. You were complicit by your silence. Congratulations, Donald Trump. You're losing more credibility every day.
Well, let's also keep in mind about why pedophiles aren't being prosecuted, because some of the most powerful people in the world are pedophiles. They've got a pedophile ring that goes through all these people, whether it be the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all these people, judges, police chiefs, all these people in high places are. That's why they're not prosecuted. Or if they do, they're prosecuting the low-level ones.
We're gonna have to keep saying allegedly, Joe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we can say allegedly, but I think there's enough proof that there's enough proof that I think that we have that a lot of these people are really into that. So I didn't mention any names per se, but we can tie it to the Rothschilds. We can do that because they own the money.
Scooter asked, where do you think this is going?
With Gates.
With Gates.
With what?
With Bill Gates.
Oh, well, I mean, keep in mind, he's a multi-billionaire for a reason. I mean, he's one of them. He's one of them. No, he's not about to be thrown aside. No, of course not. But I mean, I will admit that they do use you up and toss you if they need to, but they're probably not going to do it to him because he's one of their biggest advocates. I mean, he's one of the biggest vaccine V-word advocates out there. So no, they're not going to toss him aside, but they love their controversy. They love playing one side against the other. They love their good cop, bad cop. So if you notice, pretty much anybody that they have in the public eye, they're going to put through some controversy at one time or another. But that doesn't mean that he's still not one of them, and he's still not their biggest mouthpiece, and he always has been. And by the way, that wife that he's married to, transgender, that's a dude. I mean, just look close. It's pretty obvious.
Is that why she likes wearing his khakis? All right. Now, Joe, we talk about how they use people and cast them aside.
Yeah, they do.
And we agree on that.
Yeah.
That this is part of their, for lack of a better word, modus operandi.
That's right.
Did you watch or see the clips of Elon's appearance on Saturday Night Live Saturday night?
Yeah, I did see that. He's one of them too, by the way.
Not?
I did.
Okay, you first. What are your thoughts?
Well, you tell me what you think. I mean, I just told you what I think about all these people. He's one of them. Everything they do is to promote their agenda. And right now, it's the Bitcoin, it's the coin currency.
We didn't talk about cryptocurrency, but we talked about Super Mario Brothers and Asperger's.
Yeah.
And when he mentioned Asperger's, it was about the loudest round of applause and laughter he got.
Right.
Tell me, Joe, as for years, Scooter, you should be writing for Saturday Night Live. You're a skit actor. You write skits. Okay. Why would all of supposedly the best comedic actors in the world who are assembled by Lauren Green to collect at Studio 8H to weekly present a slice of contemporary humor on Americana. Why did the staff deliberately tank the show and write a bad show?
Lauren
They
Michaels.
so scared of Elon.
Lauren Michaels,
Why?
you mean? Lauren Michaels? I think you said Lauren Green.
Did I say Lauren Green?
Yeah, I think you did.
Well, you know, Scooter is 53. That's 197 in dog years, but Scooter still loves his elbow. I'm
Right.
sorry. Lauren Michaels, not Lauren Green.
Right. Well, I mean, keep in mind, we've got a new generation behind us too. That's why we kind of gravitate toward people like that. So we've got the new generation.
No, why
I should say two generations.
Asperger's?
Why what?
Why suddenly hype Asperger's?
Boy, you know what? I'm not sure why exactly. I have what I suspect is going on, but I'm not really sure. Because remember what it's technically classified as a mental illness, right? So that's what they're really.
Don't say that. You're
well, yeah, exactly. So what they're really trying to tie together right now is everything that we see going on with the school shootings. You know, mental illness. We got to keep the guns out, the mentally disturbed people. You know, but if you really think about what that means, who decides who's mentally disturbed and who's not? In other words, if they want to take the guns out of everybody's hands, all they would have to do is say, well, this guy's mentally disturbed, this guy's not mentally capable of handling that. So who could they classify as having some kind of mental illness? Well, anybody who's been on antidepressants, anybody who's seen a psychologist, a psychiatrist, anybody who's had some problems in school, maybe anybody who's been in the war or been overseas or been in Vietnam, because they all have some kind of psychological problems. In other words, if you really think about it, who can they classify as mental illness that doesn't deserve a gun? Pretty much everybody. So they always want to keep that topic out there because that's what they're trying to do. That's why they're always classifying these shooters as lone nuts with mental illness. No, they're not part of the big plan. No, nobody's in it with them. No, there's not two. There's just one mentally disturbed guy, and that's the one we got to keep the guns out of. Which they're pretty much going to try to classify all of us as mentally disturbed. So to answer your question, that's where this is going.
The Hispanic community is going to disagree with that regarding the recent mass shooting down in Colorado Springs Trailer Park, but I'm racist, so okay. And you're right. You're right, Joe. Because again, things like ADD and Asperger's used to be syndromes. Even with the overspeak of the C word is now a disease that needs to be treated as such. So they're just jumping the shark by anyone with any mental, by their definition, malnormity, deformity, etc. You're then put in this category and precluded from being allowed to defend yourself.
That's right. That's where this is going. So you got to kind of, to really figure out what's going on in the world, you got to kind of back engineer it. You've got to understand what their goals are, what they want, and what they're trying to do, how to get there.
What you want to shove down their throats, back to the Hegelian dialect.
Yeah, well, just like we were talking about on another show, it's like what came first, the pandemic or the vaccine? Well, the vaccine came first, but they want everybody to be vaccinated. But what they're weren't going to be able to do is convince everybody to go and get a vaccine, because people say, well, no, I don't want that. There's no reason to. So what do they have to do? Well, it's back engineer. They need to create a pandemic, get everybody afraid. And if they do that, then people are going to want to run down and get their V. I think I said the whole word. Well, I think that'll slide. But anyway, so you got to back engineer everything. And by the way, one word I can use, I'm going to use the word coronavirus, because that's where this has started. Then it morphed into something else. What is a coronavirus? It's been around forever. Everybody's had it at one time or another. You know, want to know why? Because everybody's had a cold. And it ranges from everything from a cold to a severe flu, anything in between. That's a coronavirus. It's always been here, always has been there. So that's why they're using this particular one, because they know most people have had it. We've all had it at one time or another. We've all had a cold. So the chances are pretty good that a lot of people are going to test positive for that. And then, by the way, the CDC says there's an 80% error in testing positive. So just because somebody says, well, I tested positive, doesn't mean anything, because they just admitted there's an 80% false positive error or possibility with this. To test positive for a cold you may or may not have.
Right. And then they throw the word in asymptomatic, and then there's no study data to suggest transmission of asymptomatic versus those who are symptomatic. But and again, Joe, I hate to lisp in this new metrosexual made a better world, but it's just an abundance of caution. We just all have to be 100% safe.
Yeah. So because of that, and because Kerry Mullis, who designed the PCR test, said he didn't design the test to decide to test if you were sick, and he even went on to say, if you run this through enough, everybody can test positive for anything. So these are the facts. So when people say, well, so-and-so tested positive for the coronavirus, that means absolutely nothing, because even the creator of the test says anybody can be tested positive for anything if you run this thing through enough cycles. So those are the facts, and we're just putting it out there so people can think for themselves. I mean, we can't tell you what to do. We can't tell you how to think. All we can do is give you the facts, and hopefully that you start thinking for yourself and don't get all your information and reality from the TV, because they're lying to you. Okay, I feel better now.
No, we're going to need a war to distract the people from what we're doing. Who are we going to war with?
Well, they've wanted to go with Iran for a long time, and they've had trouble with that because Iran's a little bit more powerful than they want. They're not a pushover like Iraq or Libya or Syria. And Iran, whether they admit it or not, has nukes. They don't have a lot of them, but they have them. So they don't want to, a bully like we are right now. You don't want to pick a fight with somebody who's strong. You want to pick a fight with somebody you can run over. But we can't run over Iran. So that's why we haven't been able to really attack them like we want, because they don't want pushback, and that's what they're going to get. So that they've been trying to do Iran for a long time, and I suspect they're still going to try to do it.
Now, in 2016, the existential immediate threat, of course, was Little Kim with his finger on a little button, and President-elect Trump threatening his button bigger than Kim's button. But North Korea's been silent for 3 years. Do you think they will try and will the Biden-Harris administration? Harris. Oh dear God, America, wake up. Do you think they're going to try and reignite the North Korean situation?
I don't think so, because I think they're running into the same problem with Iran. They're too powerful. They've got nukes. So I don't think we want any conflict with them.
All right. And how about our troop withdrawal from the nearly 20-year war in Afghanistan and Iraq?
Well, they want them over here. They want them over here is what they want.
Blow Iraq up again?
I think they're never going to get out of there entirely, because remember, wars aren't made to be won. They're made for occupation. They want occupation, because the defense contractors make billions from keeping a war going for 20 years. They don't want to win the war. They're not trying to win the war. That's not what wars are about. They're about occupation and control of a certain region. But the only reason they're bringing some of them over, if not most of them, is because they want them over here now. We've done all the damage we can overseas. Now let's bring them over here and control our own citizens, because we've got people like us that are just not compliant, that are not going with the program, that are not getting their V word. So they might need to be quarantined at a Home Depot near you.
I'm doing well. I'm thinking about, what about the rockets and everything that were fired this morning in Jerusalem?
I had heard about that. I'm going to have to do a little bit more looking into that one. I'm not sure. I might have a little bit of an opinion on that, but I don't want to say yet, because I'm not absolutely sure. But keep in mind, Jerusalem or Israel and the United States are absolutely on the same side, and we have been for a long time. As a matter of fact, Israel, the real powers that be in Israel, pretty much control the United States. They control basically all the industries that we have, especially the movie industry, which is huge, because that really distorts people's opinions about what reality is. Go ahead.
Are those your hamsters running their scooter? Because
Joe and I had a conversation approximately, Joe, was it 72 hours ago or about 96 hours ago without, the date and all that? I mean, that's about accurate, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So Joe, I guess I'm not gonna out our conversation, but I do want you at least on record. What do you think? Okay, so it's May 11th, and I made a comment at Valentine's Day that gas was going to be $3 a gallon by Memorial Day, and it's $3.09 on the 11th. So I was wrong. I think where this economy is going. But Joe, I'm very curious. Where do you see the economy in the next 30 days?
Yeah, in the next 30 days, boy, it's really hard to say short term. These things are really hard to predict short term. Long term is a little bit easier because we know what their agenda is and what their goals are.
In the shorter long term, what are your charts, your third eye, your gut? What's it telling you?
Well, you have to remember that the economy that we have now, this whole reset, we've talked about this before, is another word for the New World Order. So they really want the economy as we see it now to collapse. And they're starting with the small businesses. They want all the small businesses out of business. They don't want anything but the people they control, the Walmarts of the world, the Home Depots of the world.
Target, Amazon.
Yeah, they want them to be in business because they control them. They do not want mom pop businesses in to have any influence in this economy whatsoever. So I can tell you that
I'll give this data point for Joe. The United States government is giving Amazon billions of dollars in no interest loans. They're using that money to build their infrastructure, while Joe is pointing out mom and pop businesses across the United States are being shut down and will be forever gone. But corporations are accepting no interest loans that they're using to beef up their infrastructure to push everyone out. We are in a very dangerous market right now, I think.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. They want a completely different economy that is part of the New World Order. They don't want sovereign nations anymore. They want a one world economy, one world government, one world police force. So yeah, they want a different economy, and to do that, they have to collapse the old economy, which is what they're doing right now under the guise of a pandemic. So people will go along with it. It's amazing how many people they've fooled and deceived.
In 2011, when I got to interview Max Kaiser, and Max Kaiser was one of the guys running around giving all the DJs Bitcoin, there was a quote conspiracy theory then that if Bitcoin was ever to become, something that people looked at, well, that the federal government would just create, and it was a joke word back then, a Fed coin. No. That's never going to happen. Well, this past week, did not the United States government announce that they are looking into creating a crypto digital currency that would replace the US dollar, known as the what? Fed coin? Oh, it's conspiracy theory, huh? Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And keep in mind
how wrong I was. Thank you for showing.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that the new currency that they want isn't Bitcoin. That's just a precursor to it.
What is it?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they've actually put it in play yet. I'm not sure exactly what they've got in mind, but they've got a cashless society to where you will no longer have, actually exchanging coins. That's why all these places, you go into your store and they say, oh, due to our coin shortage, we're not going to be giving you cash at this particular machine. It's like baloney. There's no shortage. They just want you to get used to not using cash anymore, because it's going to be digital from now on. So Bitcoin is just the way they're getting you used to that. Kind of like the V word is a way to getting you used to the mark of the beast, which is going to be coming in the future. It's not the mark, but they want to get you used to having something injected in you, into your very person, that they can track. So that's what they're going to. That's what Bitcoin is. It's getting you used to a digital currency. But make no mistake about it. The Federal Reserve is behind Bitcoin. People say, "Oh, I'm going to get out of getting out of cash. We've got this new system over here where they can't track. Yeah, they can. And they just want you to think that's what this is all about, but it isn't. They're just getting you used to it, and they're going to suck you in. And by the way, if you're getting into Bitcoin, you're making a lot of money, good for you. But there's going to be a time where they're going to crash it. Trust me on this. You'll play this back again when they crash Bitcoin, because they're going to do it. I'm not saying they're going to do it tomorrow or next week, but they're going to crash it.
Well, I did hear that on Saturday Night Live, that after Elon said something about cryptocurrency, the one that he mentioned actually dropped
Yeah.
30%.
Yeah, that was Dogecoin. Yeah, you're right. That is what happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same coin that's up 2,200% dropped 30%. Oh, and that's the headline. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you're in Bitcoin, you've made a lot of money, good for you. But think about taking it out, because they're going to crash it. And when it does, they're going to do the exact same thing they did last time.
Don't give any financial advice, because then people take their money out and then it goes to $100,000 and we get sued.
Oh, hey, I'm not giving you advice. Financial advice would be giving you a particular ticker symbol to get involved in. I'm not doing that. I'm just telling you, they're going to crash it. So play that back in a couple of years, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
In the world of numerology, today 511, so we got a 522. Well, we got 513 coming up. We got 522 coming up. But is there any other significant moments in history, Joe, of the first revolution out of the czars and World War I and World War II? Are there any other significant dates in history for the month of May, in case the nurses here at rehab don't turn my internet back on?
Yeah, well, May 1st was always a big one. And another thing to keep in mind is when you get these Luciferian holidays like Beltane, which is May 1st, and then they have them all through the month. They have April is a big one. That's when we see a lot of things happen in April. We see them happen in May as well. Even if nothing happens on the global scene that makes the false news, they're doing some kind of ritual underground for their next big catastrophe. So they're always active on these Luciferian holidays, no matter what. They're always doing some kind of sacrifice or ritual or whatever. So they're always active. But yeah, you can expect it on days that that numbers coincide with, for sure, because we've seen it all throughout history.
We don't really have any good news for this episode, do we?
No, not really.
Joe, I joked about Tim Tebow, but why are they throwing him back in the mix?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not sure why they're doing that. I was never a big believer in him in the first place. He comes off as this right-wing Christian with the John 3:16 written across his face, and people say, "Oh, what a great Christian he is." It's like baloney. He's one of them. You have to understand, these people are very smart. These people
Joe,
understand how deception works.
I'm going to throw something in here. If he was truly one of them, he would have gone on to much better things. Instead of everything he's ever done, he's been kind of put out to pasture after a year or two. So I'm thinking that he is definitely the real deal. And the reason is he is a good Christian versus the others that proclaim it and are not.
Well, let me tell you why I don't think he is. First of all, when he came on, I forget what the magazine cover that he was on. You can Google it and find it, where he's got his top off and he's like naked from the top up, and he's got his arms spread out like he's being crucified. No real believer would ever do that. That's a mockery of what Jesus was doing for somebody like that to just do what he's doing, like, oh, I'm on the cross. Second of all, this whole thing about him praying, this Tebowing.
Yeah.
Didn't the Bible talk about praying in public like that as being hypocritical? Didn't it say don't pray in public like the hypocrites do so they can be seen by people? Go into your room and close the door and pray. But what does he do? No, he goes and does his little Tebowing thing out in front of everybody so they can see him praying. The exact thing the Bible says not to do. So his controllers are obviously saying, hey, why don't you go there and pretend like you're praying like the thinker and see how many Christians it sucks into, even though the Bible clearly says don't pray like that. So those are just two examples of him where I think, no, he's not who he appears to be. But because all he has to do is put 316 under his eyes, like a football player where they've got those black marks usually, which he's got 316 over. Oh, he must be a Christian. Like these Luciferians aren't smart enough to use scripture to suck unknowing Christians into this kind of nonsense. No, I'm not buying him at all. But hey, that's just my opinion. You guys can Tebow all you want and think that that's what the Bible teaches. It doesn't.
I guess there
I hear
really
people
is no
thinking.
good news today. No.
I hear people thinking, but they're not saying anything.
It smells like smoke right here where I'm sitting. Something's burning.
And besides, when you've got people in the world like that, they're obviously promoting, generally, they're Luciferians. A real true believer is going to be, they're not going to be put out in front of people like that, and they're not going to be liked by a lot of people. They're going to be shunned, just like Jesus was talking about. He said, they persecuted me, they're going to persecute you. But Tim Tebow, he's always kind of put out in the limelight. He's not persecuted at all. As a matter of fact, he shouldn't be in the limelight because he hasn't done anything in a long time. But just the fact that they're shoving him out there again in front of everybody tells me, no, he's not who he claims to be. But once again, it's just my opinion. I'm just putting it out there.
Last thing I'll say on record, you guys can wrap it up if we still have time. Gentlemen and ladies, we are now less than 45 days away from the infamous UFO document dump that was put into one of the last pieces of Trump legislation regarding COVID stimulus, was that by 180 days from the signing of that document, so backlash, break open your search engine, I believe it's June 15th or June 16th, but the actual date of the document dump, I believe, is going to be like June 25th. So the one argument is that the government can't let this stuff out, so they're going to have to distract. Are we going to see a distraction and a pullback from releasing these documents? Or are we just going to be given a treasure trove of documents that are all redacted? Or in the third case, do they dump the documents unredacted? Joe, what do you think? And Backlash put a mark on it, because if they do dump those, we're going to wind up going 3 weeks dark just to read everything. But what do you think, if anything, comes out of the UFO dump if they dump?
My opinion on the whole UFO thing is the UFOs are going to be part of the end time agenda. I think they've always had that as their plan. That's why we're getting prepared, and we have been for a long time with so many UFO shows, so many movies that have to do with UFOs. Joe, in the
last 30 days, they've shown this massive object just outside the ISS, International Space Station. It's clear as day. It's clear as how we see each other.
Yeah,
and
those are not
ours, and it's not the Soviets, and it's not the Chinese.
Can I look that one up too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, the videos are out there. So what they're doing is,
they're amazing.
Yeah.
We were all focusing on the astronauts coming back and forth on the Dragon. No, look out the window. This thing is huge.
Yeah. So these are not leaked documents that they're just feeding to us, and so they can kind of say, oh, look what the government is hiding. No, they're not hiding anything. As a matter of fact, that's part of their plan. They want you to think that they're hiding something, and they're just kind of saying, hey, look, UFOs are kind of real. No, they want you to believe in UFOs. They want you to believe in aliens. They want you to believe that you were planted here by aliens and not by God himself, because they're going to play a big part in the end times. Even Ronald Reagan was promoting this new world kind of concept with aliens, because he even said, hey, think about how all our differences would go away if there was an outside threat by an alien agenda. Now think about what he's saying there. He's saying he doesn't want the world separated. He wants the world united. And one way to unite the world is to convince them that there's an alien threat. So he's telling you what the plan is.
Okay, then I'm going to take one moment in history. So, Joe, you do not believe that Richard Nixon and Jackie Gleason spent an afternoon together?
I do believe they did, yeah. I know that Richard Nixon and Jackie Gleason were friends.
Do you believe Nixon showed Gleason what allegedly he showed him?
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah, absolutely, I do. Yeah.
Well, okay, bring me in on this one. Gleason showed Nixon something, or vice versa?
Jackie
Nixon showed Jackie Gleason. Okay, Backlash. This will be for a future episode because I know we're running out of time.
Okay.
An alleged meeting with Jackie Gleason and Richard Nixon took place, just like an infamous meeting with Richard Nixon and Elvis Presley. However, this doesn't have a lot of pictures and a lot of stories behind it, but it is out there. The short story is that Richard Nixon and Jackie Gleason meet. They are friendly to each other. They have a very interesting conversation, at which point we're going to have another conversation. And they meet again. And in that meeting, took Jackie Gleason to a controlled facility. And he was shown the truth that extraterrestrials, we have them, they're here on this planet.
Yeah,
we're working with them. That's
Jackie,
the story. I'm not saying I believe it or not. I asked Joe if he was aware of it. Do you believe that meeting took place? He said yes. Do you think, did he show them? Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, well, let's reiterate where that story came from. It came from Jackie Gleason's wife after Jackie Gleason had died. So this was her account of what he had told her, and I believe she's telling the truth. Yeah, they went to a military base, and Richard Nixon and Jackie Gleason didn't know what he was going to see. But Richard Nixon went into a room, and they were on ice. And Jackie Gleason said he thought they were babies at first, but they weren't. They were alien beings that they were keeping on ice. So that's the story that she had given. I believe that that's true.
I don't know who Considine is, but I'm looking this up. And guys, I'm going to be, after this segment is over, I've got, oh my God, so much stuff. I'm looking at the video. I just typed in UFO off of the ISS station, and yeah, it's there for 20 minutes, 22 minutes by account, live stream. So there's an 11. By the way, January 14th is possibly the date of the dump, because I did, it came out.
January 14th, suggesting June 14th or 15th,
No,
but I believe
it's Tuesday, July 13th. From 180 days from January 14th is when that was signed. Okay. So Tuesday, July 13th, which is, great. A 13.
713.
Yeah. And then I am reading up on Jackie Gleason. And it's if you just Google it, holy crap. I mean, I just started it and it just popped up.
You're going to need more edibles.
Yeah, I'm going to need something. And thankfully, I've got a dispensary right across the street.
Yeah, that's right.
My bunker right now, so it's perfect. They know me by name. Backlash. It looks like you were on air again today. Here, this one's on me.
Backlash, did you never hear the story about again, I know him as the great one, Jackie Gleason. You never heard that story?
Nope. And
Joe, I don't think you and I have ever talked about that. That's why I asked, did you know? Yeah. I don't think you and I in 20 plus years we've ever talked about Jackie Gleason.
We have not.
Okay.
We have not talked about that, yeah.
That will bring up on the next story, and next episode, maybe Thursday. Let's make UFO Thursday, because we are running way out of time right now.
Okay.
I think we got to go a little bit longer because we only had Joe and myself on today, but I literally have a flight at 4:30, so I've got to go out and reflight the plane. I'm looking at all this Richard Nixon, Jackie Gleason, and the Florida aliens. We will definitely bring it up from there. Joe, where can people find us on the World Wide Web?
They can find us at conspiracykeepers.com and theconspiracyzone.net. Conspiracykeepers.com is where we log all the videos that you're listening to right now. So that's the main one you want to go to for our YouTube videos. And
if anybody wants to find me after my flight today, I'll be over in the corner in a fetal position, sucking my thumb. Wow.
And I'm at Hazelden in Center City. It's pretty easy to find. So.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for another great episode of the conspiracy keepers. I'm looking forward to UFO Thursday.
Sounds good, guys.
Have a great day, and we will talk to both of you very, very soon.
Okay.
Here we go.
Good night, everybody.